The ancient art of tacos. Many have tried, few have succeeded. So today we will attempt to make something glorious. Recently I've noticed there's been a lot of fear and tension and people just kind of freaking out with the state of the world right now, and whether it's the president or global warming and all. There's all these things going on that take us out of like actually experiencing joy. And food to me is pure joy and pure love that goes right in your mouth. So I want to make happy tacos today, and I'm basically going to give you guys a definitive guide on how to make every single taco that I think you should know how to make delicious and simple. So we're going to make a ton of salsas, fresh corn tortillas. I'm going to show you guys toppings. We're going to marinate meats and fish and veggies and all kinds of stuff, and basically have a giant taco party in your mouth. Let's do it. Everything except for the actual taco fillings is gluten-free and vegan. So if you have some kind of allergy, whatever it is, like, you're good. You can make this for everybody, and I like making food that everybody can eat. You go to a party and people are like, well, I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, I got you covered. So the first thing I'm gonna do is the carne asada. It's a very popular dish, usually carne, beef. So I'm gonna use flank steak. You can do skirt steak or any kind of like nice grilling steak. You basically marinate it, grill it, boom. When I first started studying Mexican food, I thought I would get bored quickly and move on, but I ended up falling deeply in love with it and spent 6 months like deeply cooking Mexican food all the time. And one thing I learned about tacos is that a really good taco, super simple, fresh corn tortilla, some sort of delicious marinated meat, a nice salsa, and then just like some fresh toppings, that's it. So the carne asada, beef, it's gonna be marinated, like doing some onions, tomatoes. The thing about authentic is, it's a word, you know, everyone's got their own authentic thing. So I'm gonna make, I think, a version that's delicious and basically put in some red peppers. I'm going to do some white onion. Got the whole, you know, Food Network, everything's prepped out thing going on. Onion, so oregano. This is Mexican oregano, but whatever oregano you got is good. But oregano is so good in meats, it doesn't even make sense. Oregano and cumin, I'm eyeballing. Marinades are great because you just kind of eyeball it. If you want to go online and get recipes, by all means, but I believe cooking is about feel and just like intuiting what's gonna make sense. You can always back it off and add more if you need to. Cumin, salt, and the pepper. I'm then just gonna add oil in here. Good amount of oil. Oh yes, my friend. And a couple of limes. Okay. Squeeze a little lime. I also urge you when you're cooking, sort of like be with the food, you know? Like when you're making food like this, everything's very simple, but you just do one thing at a time. It's just like kind of have a little bit of a plan, you know, marinate this and get this thing started, you know, then do this. Don't try to do a million things at once. Like marinate your meat, put it in the fridge, forget about it until it's ready to grill, you know, then make your salsas, forget about them until you're ready to eat. Magic. Smell is very important. If something smells good, it's probably gonna taste good. And you can't, unless you added like a pound of salt, like you can't mess up these things. And I'm just gonna add some, just kind of rough, just kind of squeeze them and break them a little bit, just some cilantro stems. That'll just help with the marinade a bit. Cilantro fresh goes on everything, of course. Then with the garlic, listen, if you wanna spend all day mincing garlic, go ahead, but I've been doing this thing recently where I just smash the crap out of it, and it kind of releases the oils, and then you don't really have to chop. You can maybe do like a couple of rough chops, but for a marinade, I'm not concerned about like anything. I'm not really concerned about anything in general. I'm just trying to live a good life, you know? You know, there are gonna be terrible things that can happen to you, but it's not what happens so much as what you do with it, what you learn from it, how you grow as a human being, as an individual. Easier said than done, but that's the part of the journey. If things were just good, life would be boring. You might not realize it, but you probably are addicted to drama. So take some time looking at that and see where it leads. All right, cool. So I got this delicious marinade, carne asada. And what I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna do one with portobello mushrooms and then one with the steak. And the reason I cut these up is because I'm gonna fry them and they're gonna come out kind of like little delicious chunky monkeys. So why don't we get a bag, toss my steak in the bag. Actually, before that, let's get a little seasoning on here, just why not? Just a little salt, don't even need pepper. Keep it simple, the pepper's already in there. Toss that in the bag. Goodbye. Goodbye, my friend, Mr. Steak. And then use about half the marinade in there. Wow. So I could throw in jalapenos or something in here, but what I personally like doing is keeping some stuff like a little more neutral, just giving it good flavor, and then the salsa is just gonna blow people's minds off if they want it. So just give this like a nice rub down, rub your meat, you know, get frisky with it. And you can let this sit overnight, you know, or at least a couple hours to get in that flavor. That's gonna go in the fridge, and then with this, I have my portobellos in there. Toss that around, and then we're gonna let them sit as long as the meat sits. These are gonna be part of our grilling experience. And now I'll get on the chicken. Part of this experience for me is showing you guys different varieties. So when I'm cooking, it's not about like this is the way I do it. Normally when I cook, depending on what mode I'm in, I either wanna spend a lot of time really putting in lots of care and being more specific, or I just wanna open up a bag, throw stuff in, good night, good luck, and goodbye, and see what happens. And when I'm cooking for lots of people, I find that's a great way. You know, make sure the salsas and everything taste good, but when it comes to marinating something like chicken, I'm just gonna throw some things in a bag with the chicken and let it sit. So it's a way to make a lot of chicken and make it delicious very fast. So I'm gonna add some oil, salt, pepper, freshly dried oregano, oregano and cumin for this one. Simple, no garlic, no onions needed. Of course you can. The more you do, you know, the more chance you have at adding flavor, but again, it's all about balance in life. Life is one big balancing act. If you find the balance within yourself, how you like to cook, good things are gonna happen. And with this, I don't even have to mix the marinade beforehand. I'm just mixing it right in the bag. Yeah, flying chicken. And you can look at it, it's like, all right, you know, maybe that once, now that it's mixed around a little bit, I'm gonna go with a little more salt, I think, you know? And probably a little bit more oregano, because I've been on an oregano tear recently. Another one bites the dust. Into the fridge. No. Fish. Always gotta smell your fish. And people that freak out about whether fish is good or not and how do I tell, if you can go like this and just breathe in casually, you're good. If it's rotten, you're not gonna wanna stick your nose down there, right? Fish I'm gonna keep really simple. This is mahi-mahi. I just went to the market and I was like, what's good for tacos? That's always what I do. Unless I'm really trying to get something specific, I like to ask because they're always getting in different catches, and it's kind of like, what's the freshest and what's the most affordable thing that I can find? And when it comes to anything, you know, cooking related in life, like, I think it's a good balance to have. You know, what is affordable and what's fresh, what's delicious. Give this a little squeeze, just a little bit. One thing I love about tacos is you don't need that much to make people happy. So like, this is, what, a pound of fish, I think? Yeah, not even. This is a pound of fish, and this will make you a lot of tacos, because when you flake it up, you add salsas and all kinds of stuff, you just need a little taste of the fish. So one thing that I have roasting in the oven right now, carnitas. Carnitas are amazing for Mexican food. It's basically cooking something in its own fat. So what I did was I took a big pork butt, I sliced it down into these little chunks, and then I added them with the excess fat and bones and whatever. Usually they wouldn't do that, but why not? Into a pan, I added salt, orange peel, cumin, oregano, and then a bunch of pork lard. And I just mixed it together and then just throw it in the oven covered on like 275, 285, whatever, and just let it roast for hours, and it's gonna fall apart and be delicious. Usually they add garlic. I actually kind of forgot, but it's still gonna be delicious. And then once you have that, you can sort of roast it up and fry it in a pan, and it's just like this really succulent, juicy beef experience. One of the key components to making gloriously amazing tacos is having good salsa. And when you go to like these little taquerias, a lot of times, my favorite places, you can tell a good place if they have a bunch of salsas out. So we're gonna make like 4 or 5 different salsas that are just gonna blow your freaking mind away. And it's, you know, usually they're like medium, mild, spicy, but when you go to Mexico, it's sort of like spicy, extremely spicy, extra, extra spicy. Like there's no, like one's spicy, one's just spicier than the other one. But there's lots of different ways to make salsa. You can make super fresh salsa. I love roasted salsas though. I think that they're delicious. They add like a robust flavor to it. So what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna roast a bunch of different things on this tray. A little bit of oil. We got tomatillos, which are the staple in green salsa. So salsa verde, which is verde, green, brothers, green, hermanos verdes. So tomatillos, they kind of look like a tomato, but they come in this husk, and when you get them, you just peel them off. Don't be intimidated, just peel it off, give them a wash. They might be a little sticky. When you bite into them though, they're sour. They have this like tartness and crispness to them, so they're really delicious. These are just tomatoes. I'm gonna roast them on the vine. I've got 3 serrano peppers, and this is not one salsa. I'm gonna roast everything and then divvy them up for different salsas, which is a nice little trick. Got 2 jalapenos, garlic, a bunch of cloves of garlic in the shell, and some onion in the shell as well. We're calling it shell, skin, but. So I'm just gonna add a bunch of oil to this. Just kind of give it a little squeeze bottle experience. If you want, you can, you know, give it a little salt too. A little salt never hurt nobody. And just kind of mix it around a little bit. Make sure, you know, everything gets friends with the Mr. Oil experience. And then just throw that in an oven and let that roast probably, you know, in the 350, 400 range. I've got my carnitas in there too, so I might have to take them out, jack it up, and then unjaculate them, so we'll see. One of the biggest comments I've been getting recently, I just did a video, you know, Anthony Bourdain recently committed suicide, and not to get dark and intense here for a second, but I was just talking about my experiences with it and a lot of depression that goes on in the world. And one of the biggest comments I got was that cooking has saved a lot of people's lives. You know, whether it's watching this show or just getting inspired to get in the kitchen, and cooking has made people feel more happy. And that was a big inspiration for this video. It's like, yeah, there are lots of things going on in the world, but when you learn how to cook for yourself and you can feed friends and feed yourself, whether it's feeding them on a budget or just making delicious food that you make with your own love, it changes your life. I mean, food is medicine. They say food is thy medicine, but it's very true. You go to a doctor's office, they're gonna give you some medication to prevent something or to, you know, deal with side effects, whatever it is, but food is like preventative medicine. So if you eat well, delicious food, take care of yourself, you're gonna feel good and you're gonna be happier. It's also a great way to make friends and get a date too. If you can cook, it's just an instant. Women love men who can cook. I remember the first time I was in high school, I was getting into cooking and music. She's like, wait, you cook and you play guitar? I was like, can we get married right now? I was like, no, but you know, thank you. So corn tortillas are amazing, obviously. When I make for big parties, sometimes I will buy like good quality ones and just kind of reheat them. But if you can make them yourself, they're super, super easy to make, and they make a far superior taco. All you need is this maseca, and this is basically this instant corn mix. It's just ground corn mixture. You take it, a little bit of this, some salt, and oil, just a little bit of oil. Sometimes I'll use lard, but I see no point. And then just some warm water, and you're making a dough, but it's not a dough that you need. You know, you don't need to knead this dough. Whoops, we got a squirter. You basically just mix it around until it starts to form a dough. And if it's too wet, too dry, you know, if it's too wet, you add some extra masa. If it's too dry, you add some extra water. It's very simple. You cannot screw this up. I'm telling you folks, don't screw it up. Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of mix this around. And the goal here is to not, as you're mixing it, you don't want it to be super sticky, but you also don't want it to be too crumbly. So what you can always do is kind of get it to this ball here. Wash your hands, because your hands are going to be a little sticky right now. Just give it a feel, and then you let this sit covered. There you go. Doesn't need to be perfect. Let this sit covered while you kind of prep everything else. And it's just going to kind of hydrate the corn a little bit more, and then when you make these things, they're going to be awesome. Still figuring out how to use saran wrap. I can cut, I can bake, I can clean, I can cook. Saran wrap beats the hell out of me. Yeah, I'm just kind of prepping for guacamole. I mean, I feel like at this point in life, everyone knows how to make guacamole, but I'm just gonna make one anyway. And so I'm just chopping up some jalapenos. And oftentimes when you're watching cooking shows, they have everything kind of prepped out, and it's just sort of like dump and stir. That's the kind of classic joke, like the dump and stir cooking show. That's the kind of generic show. But the reason that I actually prep stuff is to make cooking so much easier. So I'm not prepping out like 1/4 cup of tomatoes. Like I'm just making a frick ton of tomatoes, and then I have these little jars, and whenever I want to cook food, it's like, okay, tomatoes, boom. Just avocado. There's different ways, of course, to cut an avocado. This is the lazy man's trick. So I'm gonna add some tomatoes, a little bit of onion, just a little bit, some cilantro, lots of it, boom, some salt, pepper, and of course, lime juice, which you'll notice certain things in Mexican food. We should probably pause to talk about this real quick. In Mexico, there's lots of different regions, like in Oaxaca, you're getting different food in Baja, different styles, but in general, Mexican food, there are certain staples that you want to have around to make delicious food. So one thing, cilantro is in almost everything, lime is in almost everything. You're gonna see lots of garlic, you're gonna see lots of onions. You've also got, of course, chili peppers, jalapenos, serranos, habaneros, whatever kind of, there's also lots of dried peppers that you can get. Cumin and oregano are the two main spices. And honestly, when you have those things, if you just have like cumin and oregano at all times, cilantro and lime, and garlic, onions, whatever, you can pretty much make delicious Mexican food whenever you want. So it doesn't take like kind of all these crazy exotic ingredients, it's just making sure you have the right ones on hand and just learning a little bit about how to use them. You gotta use your tools, right? Use your tools. Okay. So I'm just gonna kind of mix this up. Beautiful. One of the saddest things is to eat guacamole that doesn't taste good. I don't know how it happens, how it's possible, but I've had bad tasting guacamole and it's sad. So when you taste your guacamole, just make sure if it's missing something, just add some salt and add some lime. That's probably what's missing. Carnitas, come to mommy. To daddy. Mommy and dad. There goes the lady. So let me just show you guys this real quick. Hold on. Fria. So with carnitas, I cut them in little chunks and I roast them in their own fat. And what they say is to cover it completely in fat. You could, I don't think you need to, because I find that as the pork cooks, it releases juices and more fat, mixes with the lard you have, and then you end up with this like amazing sort of fatty broth that it's cooking in. And what you want, the goal, and these actually worked out perfect at 275, is you want them to pull apart and shred, but not just be like too soft. So this has a little bit of a give, so when we fry it up, it'll get crispy, and you bite into it, and it's just heaven. So with tacos, put in some love into every step, you end up with something amazing. Just chilling. Oh yeah. You smell what I'm cooking. So now that we have everything roasted, I can sort of mix and match and make these incredible salsas. And all you need is a blender. And if you don't have a blender, you can sort of hand mash those guys, but blend it out whatever you got. So what I'm actually gonna do is, I'm gonna let this cool down. It really helps if you let this cool, because if it's too hot when you're in the blender, scorching your face, next thing you know you're missing an eye. I've seen it 100 times. So just let it cool. Make a really simple salsa. There's different types of salsa. Sometimes you'll see like a chunky salsa, and other times you'll see like a really blended up, more like smooth. It really depends on what your preference is. I'm gonna make a chunky one to just show you guys. This is called Pico De Gallo. One of the first things I ever learned how to make. And the reason it's called Pico De Gallo, even though I don't know what that stands for, is it's the colors of the Mexican flag. So you have your tomatoes, nice diced tomatoes. Like, should I use all of them? I'll use most of them. Some white onion. Beautiful. And actually this onion, I diced it up and I soaked it in cold water. It takes out that like extra bite. I love onions, but raw, when they have that bite, it can get in your mouth and you're trying to kiss people and they're just like, get the hell away from me. So, you know, you got a wife, you gotta think about those things. Take cilantro. Also gonna do jalapeno, that's more green. This is just like a really nice, simple, fresh salsa. Lime. Mix that around a little bit. Add some salt. And sometimes people will add cumin or, you know, maybe a little pepper. I'm not gonna add cumin to this, I want it to be really fresh. And just like that, a little more cilantro. Super simple, fresh salsa. Tomatoes, onions. Okay, now back into the bowl for later, because I'm gonna be taking these to a party. People are not gonna know what hit them. So now, we're going to blend our salsas. Alrighty, so I'm gonna make a couple different salsas, and I find that like having a green and a red is great, but I also like having one extra super spicy. There's always those guys and people who are just like, give me the maximum spicy. And I find out what will kill me and back it off a little bit. Seinfeld reference. But so what I like to do is, ooh, you've got the fresh tomato, and then you just start adding stuff. And I'm going to add a handful of cilantro, some of this roasted onion, the whole seeds and everything. One jalapeno just goes right in. It's just kind of like, what are you feeling? You know, what is nature calling to you? And then these garlic roasted, you can kind of pop them out of their little shell. Just like squeeze it, right? Give it a little squeezer. Lime juice. Boom. Okay, beautiful. Some salt. Some peppy. And it's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. And blend. Talk dirty to me! And you can also like do it on low if you want it to be a little chunkier, but I want this one to be more smooth. That'll be nice. So this one's a little more liquidy, it's a little more saucy, which is totally cool if you like that. That's damn good. Okay. Tomatillo salsa time. So the tomatillos turn out beautifully, so I'm gonna drop them in there. And you can mix and match. You can do, I've seen plenty of recipes where it's like tomatillo, but they might slip in a little tomato in there. You never know what's gonna happen when you slip in a tomato. Okay, boom. Take some of this roasted, I keep wanting to say oven, but onion. God dang. Take a little bit of garlic. It's been roasted. To me, it's just kind of, it milds out like the bitiness of certain things, you know? That was a little burnt when you roast stuff, but it also gives it like a really like sweeter flavor. So I have garlic, onions in there. Gonna add some, again, a rip of cilantro. And I'm gonna base these on basically chilies. So this one's gonna have a serrano, which is hotter than a jalapeno. So it's gonna be a little hotter. Boom, goes right in. And then we squeeze. Do not, I repeat, do not attempt to make salsa and then go take a piss, especially if you're a man, or go take a shower. Pepper. Okay. Not too spicy. Well, it's good. A little more salt. Another day, another salsa. This one's a beautiful one. I just love that green, that brother's green right there. All right. Beautiful, done, boom. What can't we do in this kitchen? So there's lots of dried Mexican chilies. These are puya chilies, which you're not really gonna find fresh, but they're actually used a lot in enchiladas and mole and different sauces. But I'm gonna make a really spicy salsa using them. And it's just, what they'll tend to do is they will kinda put them in the pan, just give them a raw toast, no oil, no nothing in there. And then you hydrate them with some water, you're gonna make something good. It just kinda like wakes them up a little bit. You know, that's it. I'm not honestly doing more. And then, okay, just pour some boiling water and like kinda let these rehydrate. And then we're gonna, once they're rehydrated, just take a couple minutes, then we'll throw them in with the rest of the stuff. Make this AB salsa. otherwise known as the ass burner. All right, got my tomatoes on the vine. Oh, man, oh, son. What have you done? I throw in all my tomatoes, and I'm gonna throw in 2 tomatillas. At this point, it's like whatever I got left, you know? This is gonna be really good. Okay, that can go in there. I'm like debating, do I wanna just say, screw it and add like a jalapeno? Why not? Yeah, this is gonna be like really hot. I like heat for flavor. I'm not into dying, you know, and then feeling like sitting on the toilet and dying the next day, but some people like it, and you know, I respect that. Cilantro goes in, of course more lime. I don't like cooking tools that serve just one purpose. I think because pretty much everything you can make, you know, is, look at this, it's cutting board, knife, fork, blender, pan. Oh, that's pretty much it. We're making delicious food. So salt goes in, good amount of salt. And now I'm gonna add some raw garlic to this to really like, couple of raw skis in there, rarushkas. Oh, I forgot the main ingredient. Whoa, where'd it go? Haha, habanero. Who am I looking at? Habanero going in, seeds and all. So this used to be like, and when I started cooking, this was like the pepper. Like everyone was like, oh, that's the hottest pepper. Now there's like ghost chilies, Carolina Reapers, all kinds of weird stuff that will make you crazy. But to me, this is just an amazing pepper. It's super spicy, but has great flavor. So if you don't want the spice, take out the seeds and take out like the membrane inside. You can just have some delicious stuff. Okay, so these are starting to come back alive. Typically with these guys, if they have a lot of seeds, it's good to remove them. They can be a little bit bitter. Goes right in. What I like about these dried chilies is they give it often that dark, rich red color that you sometimes see in Mexican food. Let's see here. One thing I'm noticing is my forehead's starting to burn a little bit. I think that just because I'm doing so much, I think that probably this got some of the jalapeno juice on it, and then you dab your head, so be careful. We used to do this thing where you take that cinnamon gum and you lick the wrapper and you stick it on your forehead, and it feels kind of like that right now. Look at that. Oh shit. Oh God. Oh, that's a delicious. It's okay. Really spicy, but not mega death. So now we got our 3 levels of salsa. The gates of hell. Oh baby, that's good shit right there. So one more sauce, believe it or not. Just to be excessive. Because I like excessive. I'm gonna show you guys my favorite sauce. Now this is not by any means traditional, but it's so worth it because it's so freaking good. So I actually soaked some cashews, about a half cup, in some hot water. You can do it overnight, or you know, I usually just do boiling water for like 20 minutes. I'm gonna add some lime, cilantro, and this is just something that I put on almost everything I eat, especially when I just want something to taste better than it already tastes. Chipotles, often used in Mexican food. They're basically smoked, dehydrated, rehydrated jalapenos. And then they come in this adobo sauce, which is like vinegar and has some garlic and onions and stuff. Whoa, that's a lot. It's okay. I will survive. Nice piece of a red pepper. I'm not even gonna bother cutting it, and just, sometimes it's fun to do other things, you know, play with your food, have fun. People get so caught up in like, it's gotta be this way and that way, but if you live your life like that, like I read this realization yesterday, like the idea of being an expert is actually one of the most limiting things you could ever achieve. Because once you're an expert, it's like, oh, he's an expert in this. That just means that you're like, you have an opinion and you're stuck with it. You know, you're not open to new things, and it kills people sometimes because they think that they know, And they're like, I will challenge you, and this is how it goes. But you end up limiting yourself to what else is possible, because how can we really know? Okay, some salt. Small water. Hells yes. My mouth is on fire. Maybe I got a little more sadisticism in myself than I realized. I don't mind the pain. Suck on that stuff, see what happens. Got some hair in your chest. All right. Oh, so all we need to do now is make the tortillas and grill the meat, and we're in a good spot. Okay, so let's talk tortillas. Tortilla is the staple of any good food. It's the vehicle that carries the taco to heavenly glory in your mouth. This thing here is a tortilla press. If you don't have one, no big deal. You can also just use like a heavy pan and press it down. But we've got our masa here. Masa's been chilling, hydrating, hanging out. And depending on what size you want, you just make a little ball like that. A nice little ball in your hand. And you'll feel like this masa is perfect. It's not sticking to my hand, but also it's not crumbling. It's kind of like Play-Doh, you know what that is. Not the philosopher, the other stuff. So then I put the ball here, give it just like a little press to flatten it. And I have some saran wrap. Saran wrap keeps it from sticking. Saran wrap's not the greatest thing to use. Ziploc bags are way better, but I frickin' ran out of Ziploc bags and I'm not happy about it. But this still works. So you basically press one on the top, go like that, and then just quick, boom, tortilla. Look at that, we got these little tortillas. And then take it like so. And this has taken me years to master, but you can do it well in a first try. Like I've gotten really good at, I used to do these big parties and they'd be falling apart and I have all these issues, and you learn over time. But then you just take a cast iron or any kind of pan, no oil, straight in. Just get it nice and hot and just straight in, let it chill. You'll know when it's ready to flip because it's gonna kind of release itself. And I'm just gonna press up a couple of these guys, grill up our meats, and then we are ready to eat glorious tacos. Okay. Down, boom, boom, boom. Perfect. Heaven, mouth, love, joy. So once the tortillas are done, just take a towel and stack them up in here and then kind of fold it over. And they're gonna continue, they'll stay warm, they'll kind of steam in there and they'll stay nice and spicy. Sometimes I just forget how much stuff I make. That's a good amount of that. All right, chorizo. Should you dare get excited, you can make or buy chorizo. I just bought this actually, but it's basically ground pork with smoked paprika and chili and maybe some garlic and stuff, just like some basic Mexican spices. Get that out of the bag. I'm gonna just throw it right in there. It's gonna have a lot of fat, like I don't really need to add much oil to it. I'm just gonna cook that down, it'll be a great taco. Dripping meat juice everywhere. So this is just, these are done, kind of medium heat. Corn tortillas, those are perfect. This one's the black sheep, but I'm the black sheep, so I'm okay with that. And just let them steam in there. So this is cooking. I'm gonna go get that grillage hot. 713 degrees, I'd say. Oh God, it's so hot. Yes. It's like 100 degrees outside today, so grilling is gonna be extra hot. But I have the steak, this flank, I basically just kind of rub the marinade off. There's a lot of cilantro and things, you don't necessarily want them on there, burning. Chicken goes on. There's already oil on here, so you don't have to add more oil. You can oil the grate if you want, but like I said, I like the less is more approach these days. One mistake I made though, that I would never suggest anyone make, I was once grilling chicken thigh. Like, smell that oregano? Can you guys smell what the Josh is cooking? And I was cooking chicken thigh one time and I was rushing. I had 1 hour to cook for 30 people. I had like a budget of $100 and it was just this insane thing. I ran to the market and like whatever, and I got a ton of chicken thigh because it's cheap. And stupid me just covered my grill in chicken thigh, shut this, and it had skin on. This is boneless, skinless. It had skin on, bone in. I came back and like everything was just on fire. The whole grill was just like, it was like, holy shit. And I ran and like, I opened it up and it was just black, like just blackened chicken, more than you'd ever want to blacken chicken. It ended up turning out okay, but it was intense. I'm gonna add a little bit of oil to here. With the portobellas, I find that it's way better. I'm gonna move this chicken. There you go. Just because you don't want to necessarily risk them like falling through the wormhole, I just throw them on here. Throw them up. Yeah. It also keeps it separate, so sometimes people that are vegetarians, you know, it can be a little weird about the crossover with the meat juices, so try to keep a little separation. But that's it for a minute, and then we'll grill the fish at the end. Not bad. You guys wanna see my garden real quick? Quick tour. Fia, what's going on? Why don't you tell them what they're seeing? This is all the vegetables. Getting crazy. We've got all kinds of peppers, tomatoes, herbs, broccoli, zucchini, carrots, celery, and then this is all fruit. All different types of berries, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, blueberries, apples, pears, peaches, hardy kiwis, cherries. All right, back on it. Yeah. Free, no barking. Hey. Chill. I know you're excited. I know we run. All right. Steak, looking good. Not a mistake. Chicken thigh is great because, as you probably know from watching our channel, very hard to dry out. It's fattier, lots of flavor, but just that smell. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I'm like driving around and I see a restaurant that just has like grills outside my neighborhood, especially, you see these like big grills and they're just like cooking chicken and stuff. It's hard not to just pull over and stop. Grill. I mean, granted, I've got a fire pit too, so you know, smoking over wood is even better. But you got options. It smells so god dang good. God, portobello mushrooms are just so good. They're so meaty, but so unique. This is, I'm not even bothering, as you can tell, to like get rid of the marinade. I just think it's kind of fun to have it all in there. Cool. So this has been a freaking epic day, and I made probably enough food to feed a freaking army. So just to go over, you got your guacs, different salsas. There's the fish, the grilled chicken, the chorizo, the carne asada, the carnitas. I have cheese, radish for toppings, raw onions, very important, raw onions, raw cilantro. If you don't like them, obviously skip it. Sweet potato, just for fun. The radishes you see a lot. There's mushrooms, of course lime, our sauce, and I don't want to lie to you guys. I could lie, but I did buy these because I'm making a lot of tacos. These are the ones that I made, homemade, these little guys here. That one actually got punctured because I forgot about it in the towel. Don't forget about it in the towel. Sometimes that'll happen. You'll have them in the towel and I'll go to grab the towel and, oh God. So I did buy some. There's a really awesome place that makes fresh tortillas, so I don't feel too bad about it. Get a nice cast iron, whatever you got, get it nice and hot. Kind of chuck some tacos or some tortillas on there. And then you just sort of pick what you want. It's really simple. Certain things will not need, like grilled chicken, if you keep it warm, doesn't need to be heated. But like the carnitas. We've been waiting all day for this. It's a couple pieces. Don't overload your tacos. Don't be freaking that guy, you know? Just a little dab of that. It's like a little magic surprise in the middle. This is just like a Mexican queso, fresh queso fresco, which is actually really easy to make. We have a video. I think we did a video on how to make homemade cheese. Search for that. There should be one. I'm pretty sure I've made it in videos. Cilantro. And I'm very excited for these tacos. I love the entire cooking process, but I mean, no one can deny that eating is the best part. And sharing it with you guys is my favorite part, but eating second. Oh man. Remember, I'm like, you know, taste it, but it's really good, but it needs just like a couple other things. Give it a little extra pizzazz. That's good. Words are useless. People describe food, they would say the same stuff, you know? It's tangy, it's chewy, it's salty, it's smoky. It's like, screw it, just feel it, you know? Feel the food. I have a theory that a lot of taco places aren't great because they just assume like pile on all kinds of shit and it's gonna be good, but like I said, you gotta focus on the ingredients being good. So we're gonna do a steak. These are the homemade tortillas. And you do this steak here, which will not be a mistake. Oh yeah, let's get a good slice. That's like a, oh, that is like a son of a meaty taco. Jeez. That's gonna be, that's almost borderline too much. So I'm gonna do guac, because who doesn't like guacamole? Beautiful. A little more onions. Boom. What's great about this too, if you did want to throw a party, is you just set up your station and you ball out. Like so, and it just becomes so easy. And this one just needs, I think, a little bit of queso. Okay, that adds like just a little saltiness essentially. And of course, our lime. And more lime. And then boom, number 2 is done. Let's eat this mother. Homemade turkey. Okay. More salsa. More salsa for you, good sir. That's amazing. The thing about these is that the corn is so good. You taste it, but it's not overpowering, you know? So it's just like, hey buddy, how's it going? Oh. Get in there. Portobello, portobello. Okay. So many options, so many options. Oh yeah, the dark and the green is nice. Yes. Thank you, sir. Ready for it? Ready? Those look sexy. Well, if you're... Here we go. Oh. Spicy. Well, that's the spiciest one yet. Oh. That's... Woo! Portobellos, man. Oh, yeah.